You little slut. I've seen you, you bitch. Flirting, touching. You do it to hurt me, I know you do.
Don't flatter yourself that I care that much. Christ, what kind of a man are you? I've hated you ever since we first met. I wish you were dead.
Well, I'll have to kill you. I will. I'll kill you, you whore.
You haven't got the guts. You're a joke. And as for that limp saveloy you keep between your legs...
What, you bitch?
Coming out of the break and cue.
Good morning.
And this morning on Your Morning, I'll be tasting the world's best blackjack.
The news was dominated by those familiar protestations that the government will not be swayed and are sticking to their policies. Now, what are these policies? The classless society, you remember that one? The Citizens' Charter, back to basics. What does any of it actually mean? Well, I'll tell you one of the big changes they brought about. These days, when you travel on a train, you're not called a passenger anymore, you're called a customer. Well, I must say, that's really improved the quality of my life. How about you? It won't be long before the tannoy at Waterloo's saying, "Good morning, shoppers. Now, we've got a lovely train leaving platform 6, all tickets marked down because the seats are a little shop-worn, and the train isn't actually going anywhere on account of the fact that the tracks are owned by a different company." The idea of flogging the trains is that privatised transport systems offer a more efficient, better service for the customer. Oh, yeah, like minicabs, yeah. Put that way, the train of the future becomes something of a grim prospect, doesn't it? Stretch covers on the seats with fag burns and dubious stains, vomit, male sexual effluvia, vomit, crushed sausage roll. The ashtrays, of course, ready filled at the factory. The driver's got his music on so loud he can't hear the customer screaming that he's been going the wrong way for 3 hours. The half-eaten kebab on the dead man's handle, fitted as standard. The train doesn't actually pull up to the platform. No, he stops half a mile away and just beats his horn, you know? What other policies has the Prime Minister promised to stick to? Oh, yes, the classless society. Well, that one's going well, isn't it? The only evidence I can see is that these days the royal family look as piss-poor as the rest of us. That's it. I feel really sorry for the poor old Queen. I mean, the shock she must be feeling. 60 years, right? All she's had to do is get out of a car and it's "God bless you, Mum, God bless you, Mum." Suddenly, out of the blue, without any warning whatsoever, it's "Pay your flipping tax and sort out your bleeding kids." No. Because they always call her Mum, don't they? In the press, when they're having a go, they're still respectful, aren't they? They say, "The Sun says, screw you, you scrounging old bag, Mum." I think it's outrageous the way the press sneer at the royals these days. I mean, just because Di and Fergie are single mums, and hence, according to the Home Secretary, liable to bring up juvenile delinquents, I respect them all the more for that. I mean, that they have troubles like the rest of us. But, you know, they're basically ordinary people. That's great, because none of us will ever be like Sly Stallone or Naomi Campbell, no. But when Charles is king, us farties will have our man on the throne. We'll be able to say, "Up yours, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the king's a git like me." He's stuck to his guns as our Charlie. He stayed true to what he is, a decent old hippie who tries to get things right but screws it up half the time. I respect that. Of course, the royals aren't the only thing that has become classless under Mr. Major. The honours list is also now completely egalitarian. Oh, yes, they're going to give them out on merit. That's true. Oh, yes. You don't get knighted just for being the biggest bastard anymore. No, you've got to have earned it. Now, I think this is going to put John Major in rather an interesting position, because every Prime Minister up until now who has left their term of office has been given a peerage. What are they going to give to old Citizen John, eh? Small box of Quality Street? What do you reckon? Well, John, we've had a whip round and, we've got you bugger all, as it happens. Good evening. Tonight, we look at the scandal of ordinary young girls caught up in a cycle of submissive compliance, a demeaning existence in which they are forced to give men whatever they ask for whenever they ask for it, no matter how bizarre the request. Tonight, we are looking at the women who have to say yes.
These men don't care what they ask for.
I seem to have managed to lose my wallet. It had my credit card in it.
Don't worry, Mr. Jones. We'll have a new card and some money ready for you tomorrow. It's as if you're their slave.
The ferry leaves in 3 hours.
No problem, Mr. Smith. We'll have a new window waiting for you. I've insured your house, and applying for a mortgage couldn't be easier.
My car's broken down, the house is on fire, my dog's died, and I seem to have managed to lose my trousers.
Don't worry, Mr. Brown. We'll have a car, a house, a pair of trousers, and a new dog sent straight round. Now, would you like me to talk dirty to you while you're waiting?
We spoke to one girl who insisted on remaining anonymous because she is just too ashamed of the gruesomely sympathetic, cheery, fresh-faced, simpering expressions she feels compelled to assume.
I smile and I look concerned, but the truth is I hate them. I don't care whether some patronising prick's had a tough day. I should just have to sell him his ticket or give him his room key. Not say, oh, you do look tired, Mr. Jones. Here's your chicken fajitas, some junklets for your car, and perhaps you'd like me to play with your plonker.
And so the problem spreads. Insurance companies, banks, hotels, breakdown services, all cloaking their grubby, tawdry little businesses behind the innocent smiles of fresh-faced young girls. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning. We're here to help.
I'd like to ask you some questions.
No problem at all, sir. We'll deal with that right now.
Tragic. Supposing I were to ask one of you to roger me senseless from behind with a large root vegetable.
There'll be a turnip with you in the morning, sir.
I have a carrot right here.
You see the problem. And we'll be back after... Well, frankly, I don't know when we'll be back. Do you remember the Rio Earth Summit, when all the leaders of the world committed themselves to protecting the environment for a whole news conference? It was inspiring stuff. Well, at that summit, they talked about biodiversity. Can we afford biodiversity, they asked, and we, of course, replied, what the plonky bollards is biodiversity? Is it the new miracle element in your washing powder that turns you into an imbecile? With new biodiversity, my washing is so white and fresh, I'm going to have a multiple orgasm. It's none of these things. Biodiversity is about the vast wealth of life on the planet. Now, most people would want to protect biodiversity, would they not? After all, we love animals, don't we? Well, sort of, yeah? But really only the cute ones, eh? Like dogs and seals, yeah. You hear a lot about Save the Whale, yeah, very little about Save the Haddock, do you? No. It's Captain Birdseye for the flipping haddock, isn't it? Stop moaning and getting the breadcrumbs for the haddock. We're all so selective in our principles. I mean, how often have you heard someone say, well, I'm basically a vegetarian. It's just I get this craving for half a pound of bacon every morning. I'm basically a vegetarian, except I do eat fish, seafood and chicken. Well, I bet that cheers them up down the battery farm, no? People make their own rules, don't they? I don't eat human flesh, so I suppose I'm basically a vegetarian. The morality of food is so mixed up. I mean, we'll eat some bit of veal produced in the conditions of a torture chamber, then say, haven't I been good because we didn't have the chips? I mean, someone who eats one jelly tot and goes on all day about how naughty they've been. We're so self-important about our food. You see people hovering round a cream cake going, oh, I mustn't, I shouldn't, I shouldn't, I mustn't, I mustn't, I shouldn't, I shouldn't, I mustn't. Well, don't then, we don't. Anyway, biodiversity is the theme of the evening. And I can think of no better example than the dung beetle, which eats dung. All over India, you'll find dung beetles hovering over lovely big cow pats going, oh, I shouldn't, I mustn't. Now, we find it extraordinary that a creature could live entirely off eating crap. However, it is well known that dung beetles, in their turn, can't understand why we go to little chefs and happy eaters. Oh, yes, we sneer at simpler life forms to ourselves, but are we really any more sophisticated? Let me tell you, I've got pissed on stuff that tasted worse than any cow pat many a time. It's extraordinary, isn't it? How we celebrate the regular poisoning of our bodies. We celebrate it. We poison ourselves and we're proud. We go, you should have seen me last night. I was rowing up. Should have seen me. Well, next time, give me more warning. I'll organise a coach party. Our attitude to booze is surreal. I mean, you live in this strange parallel universe when you're drunk, don't you? It's like a reverse world where good is bad and bad is good. What a fantastic night we had last night. It was brilliant. We could not walk. We could not talk. You get the same effect when you break your spine. It's a lot cheaper and it lasts forever. Mind you, as a person who has had, on many occasions, enjoyed a few small lotions, I have a lot of sympathy for drinkers. Because if you drink, you get a hangover, which means you're ill. Poisoned, in fact. And yet, despite this fact, unlike with other illnesses, you get no sympathy. People say, I've got no sympathy. You bring it on yourself. You're a silly boy. You never should have done it. You bring it on yourself. I've got no sympathy. Well, what about the hang gliderer who breaks his or her legs jumping off a cliff? Does anyone force them to entrust their lives to a sheet of polythene? No. They get plenty of sympathy when they're pureed on the rocks beneath. I'd say, you silly fool, you never should have done it, you silly fool. Nobody major should have been in a pub with me. I've got a headache, you can't flipping walk. The amazing tummy trimmer. Tired of the pain and effort involved in conventional exercising? Then you need the new No Sweat Tummy Trimmer. There has never been an exerciser more easy to use. No sweat, no exhaustion, in fact, no effort at all. Because all you do is order it on impulse, have a go at it for about 15 seconds, then stick it in a cupboard forever. Thousands of people have already exercised the tummy trimmer way. Why not join them? We guarantee that you will use it only once, possibly not even as much as that. You may not even be bothered to read the instruction booklet. After that, you will put it away forever. Behind the sofa, under the bed. Its slim, lightweight shape makes it an ideal addition to the assorted crap you've got stuffed into the corners of your house already. The amazing new tummy trimmer. No effort, no sweat, no point. So, as I say, biodiversity shows us the glory of other species, in contrast to our sometimes tawdry performance as humans. Consider the manner in which the emperor penguin nurtures its young. Now, I warn you, it's going to make some of the mums in the audience a bit jealous, right? Because your bloke, I mean, he may be under the delusion that he's a bit of a new man, yeah, a bit right on, eh? Bit PC. He may do his share of the washing up. He may even be prepared to occasionally sleep in the damp patch. But no matter how liberated he is, compared to the male emperor penguin, all human men are sexist pigs. I mean, once the male penguin has impregnated the female, making sure that he didn't orgasm before she did, obviously. Oh, yes. There's none of this story, look, that you look on PC. Roll over and start snoring. No, no, no. Well, let's face it, human sexual etiquette often leaves so much to be desired, does it not? You know, it's so easy to forget manners. You know that feeling? We've just made love. You're lying there together in the warm afterglow of your passion. You know, it's all beautiful and all lovely. And sure, you know, wondering whether she's asleep or not, whether you can risk a fart yet. You know? Well, you can't, lads, believe me. You never can. You've got to maintain the mystery in a relationship. You may think it's funny, but she doesn't. No. You know the relationship's on its way out when he starts saying, have a whiff of that, love. What did I have to do? No. You've got to preserve the magic. Show a bit of respect. You've got to ease one out in 5 or 6 separate sections, you know? Discreetly. I felt that. It's so easy to spoil the magic. I mean, if you want to keep things sweet, you have to show some consideration, some common manners. You should never get so used to your partner you don't care anymore. Think about it, lads. You're lying there. It's been so beautiful. So beautiful. You made love. You were magnificent. It was so fine. You're just nodding off, you know, just going to sleep. She says, get some bog paper, will you? Get lots. Then what do you say? You don't say, oh, come on, now can't we leave it? We'll wash the sheets on Friday. No, you don't. Because she'll say, get some bloody bog paper. It's all dribbling down into my bum. Oh, dear. I've gone a bit far, haven't I? Finally gone outside the envelope. I've overstepped the mark. Big trouble now. But no, I can justify this scurrilous old gag. I only bring up the subject to illustrate how easily your principles, yes, principles, can desert you in bed. And it's not just personal. It can be political. Like, you know, I'm quite concerned about the wasting of the world's resources. I'm in Greenpeace and all that. But on the midnight bog paper run, forget conservation. She says, get lots. You go, I am getting bleeding lots. dragging it off the wall, the roll spinning in its bracket, yards and yards and yards and yards. You don't care half a tree to mop up one slightly damp, excuse me. And most women in the audience will know what a waste the whole thing is. Complete pointless waste of resources. Because you get yourself all cleaned up, then 5 minutes later you cough and it all starts all over again. We're all right, aren't we? Dear BBC. Anyway, I was telling you... Don't ring in it, it only encourages telecom. So I was telling you about how emperor penguins have their babies, right? And how much more right-on penguins are. And that's just, that was the theme of the thing. Let me get back to that. So, the lady penguin lays the egg, right? Which is the one thing the male cannot do, but I assure you, he gave up smoking and drinking in solidarity, and he went to all the prenatal classes and promised that he loved her piles and her varicose veins. Yes, he did all that. And once the lady penguin has laid the egg, that's it. She's off. She's off, leaving the male to hatch it. She says, "You hatch it, love. It'll only take a night. I'll be back tomorrow." The male penguin says, "Oh, fair enough then, darling. See you in the morning." Unfortunately, there's only one night in the Antarctic. And it lasts for 4 months. I've had nights like that. Yeah. 3 in the morning, you've had 17 pints and somebody says, "Let's try and find a kebab then," you know. 4 months later, you're still... But anyway, the male emperor penguin is the only sophisticated life form that remains on the Antarctic continent during the long winter night, right? I mean, if you can call a penguin sitting on an egg sophisticated, right? The wife, she's gone. She's off. She's swum off to warmer waters. She's gossiping, shopping, having affairs with seagulls. She's gone. She's out. While the male stands with the other guys huddled in a group in temperatures of -60. The wind blowing at 100 miles an hour in complete darkness for 4 months, hatching the egg. Not sitting on it, no, nothing so comfy as that, no. He's got it balanced on his feet to insulate it from the ice. I mean, and eventually the female returns to her starving, near-dead mate with a bit of fish for the chick. You go through all that, and I bet then the kid just turns out to be a little git who hates you and mopes around the ice pack saying, "I didn't ask to be born, you know."
On BBC One later this evening, a hard-hitting drama set in an NHS customer treatment centre, or cure shop, as they're affectionately known. Casualty.
Doctor, I think you'd better hear this. It's important.
Yes? I see. Are you quite sure? Yes, that's 873-04492. Thank you, goodbye. I'm sorry, Mr. Cooper. Visa have refused the transaction.
Don't you realise this treatment is completely out of date? How the hell do you expect this man to sign his cheque?
I'm afraid we haven't any hearts at present, sir, but you're welcome to make up the value with other organs.
That's Casualty on BBC One. The customer is always broke and usually dead.
I should be writing a pretty stiff letter, let me assure you of that.
If your lot are anything like my lot, it's all go every day. Did you get the job, love?
Did I bollocks? There were 300 other school leavers in front of me.
How's the house hunting, dear?
I nearly found one. There was a brilliant cardboard box outside Tesco's, but some crusty from Bradford got it.
How did the negotiations go, dear?
How do you think they went? We take a cut or we bog off, and if we so much as think about striking, there's 3 million unemployed waiting for our jobs. Things can't get any worse.
Yes, they can. It's stew for dinner.
Stop cubes. For a horrible meal at the end of a horrible day under a horrible government.
Anyway, biodiversity. I'd like to tell you about probably the most impressive example of all. This is real biodiversity. The sex life. Yes, I thought it'd be back to sex, Mr. Elton. The sex life of the Antarctic right whale. Now, I have to warn you, the right whale, R-A-G-H-T, a whale, lives in the Antarctic. I have to warn you, when I tell you how right whales make love, you're going to feel a teeny bit inadequate. I mean, there may be those amongst you who consider themselves a little bit sophisticated in the sauce department, yeah? You may leave the lights on, yeah? You may take your socks off, yeah? Steady on, Ben, I'm not a puff, you know what I mean? You may have purchased an educational video called The Lover's Guide to Sex. You may even have watched the talking bits instead of just buzzing through to the next dirty bit like everybody else does. I mean, the success of that video, wasn't that... I mean, sex sells anything. But, like, sometimes it's abusive, isn't it? Making a profit from other people's loneliness. Like those telephone sex lines. I mean, they can't possibly work. It's a rip-off. Be honest. I mean, if you were hungry, would you dial Pizza Hut and get them to read the menu to you? No.
So, what we're looking for is a magazine that will cater for the vast diversity of reader out there. We're looking for a very, very broad interest base. Him and Her has got to be a mould-breaking publication. We want to sweep aside the puerile obsessions of other magazines. Now, you remember we agreed on a list of essential topics for the first issue. There was science, nature, art, classical music, architecture, entomology. So let's crack right on. Bob, you were looking at science. How have you done?
Yeah, well, I'm very pleased with this, Frank, very pleased. I see a two-page spread. Science and sex. Do they mix? Are boffins good bonkers? Is a big brain the most important thing in bed?
I think that's very exciting. That'll expand their frontiers no end. So, classical music. Let's move on with Jill, shall we?
Nobody's done anything on classical instruments as a sex aid. But I truly believe we could have buckets of fun with a cello, bassoon and piccolo.
Yes, it's good, but is it sexy? Is it sexy? I don't want it too dry. I don't want to...
Well, my headline is, would you blow his horn?
Oh, good. Oh, that's challenging. That's challenging stuff. So that just leaves entomology. Yes, Robert, what do you got?
Well, Frank, there's some absolutely fascinating things to be said about moths. For instance, they don't have clitorises. So I thought we could do a 4-page section on clitorises, G-spots and the female orgasm to show what moths were really missing out on.
I think that's superb. That's entomology for the 90s. Well done. I'm very excited. I know you're all very excited. So it only remains to discuss our first editorial. Bob, you've been working on that.
Yeah, it's a firm statement saying we're going to break the mould of formulaic and predictable magazine publishing.
Yes, it's good. It's just a little dry. I think a little dry. Is there something more eye-catching?
What about we're going to Roger the mould right up the back passage?
Thank you. The sex life of the Antarctic right whale. First of all, they do it in the sea. Well, you knew that. They're whales. Bonking in the sea is not easy. I mean, you know, it's not so much bonking as sloshing around. You know, I don't know if any of you have ever tried it, you know, that Mediterranean holiday when you're 19, yeah. Away with your partner for the first time, 1 bottle of Domestica too many, the water's all warm, you're having a swim, he says, come on, let me slip it in, let me slip it in, come on, let me slip it in. She says, no, we're just having a cuddle, people will see, oh, come on, no one will see, let me slip it in, let me slip it in. On the beach, there's loads of Greeks saying stupid English, they have it off in the sewage out for you, know? You don't care, you're young and it's beautiful. So, anyway, but you can't do it anyway. You can't get it in. You're wafting around. There's no purchase on your bum. You go, she's got sand in her crevice, you've got a jellyfish on the end of your knob. It's not possible. It is even more difficult for semi-aquatic marine mammals, of which the Antarctic right whale is one. Because, and get this for a bit of cosmic bad luck, brine is a spermicide. Not Brian. Brine, salt water kills sperm, which is a bit of bad luck if you happen to be a mammal who lives in the sea and you want to have a baby. Now, most semi-aquatic marine mammals deal with this by the use of a complicated system of valves and washers in the female plumbing. But the right whale, either through divine judgment or cosmic coincidence, came up with a far more spectacular method of avoiding the seawater. Because, get this, it's true, they screw out of the water. They do it in mid-air. They weigh 60 tons each and they have it off on the wing. Let me tell you how they do it. The two lovers meet in the frozen waters of the icy southern seas and they flirt. It's true. They're just like us. They flirt. They chase each other in huge circles, beating their mighty flukes on the surface of the water. They're singing, ladies and gentlemen. They're going, ee, ee, ee. It's true. They're flirting. It's the same as us. It's the equivalent of us dancing round a handbag at a disco. I really like you as a person. I'm not like those other blokes. I really respect you. Come on, let me do it. Once the flirting is finished, the whales face each other in the icy waters of the southern frozen wine dark seas and they back away from each other 5 miles. Biodiversity, ladies and gentlemen. In human terms, if the object of your affection backs away 5 miles when you suggest a game of hide the sausage, you know you're not getting one, don't you? In the world of
of the right whale backing away 5 miles is the equivalent of popping off to have a final wee and trying to find a condom that isn't past its bonk-by date. Having achieved the sufficient distance from each other in the frozen seas of the southern oceans, they locate each other by sonar, ladies and gentlemen, by sonar. They sing to each other. They go, ee, that's my shag, ee, that's my shag. It's got very confusing for whales. Since we began to populate the seas in ships, many is the whale that sung a love song to a coal dredger, then tried to shag it. But this time they've got it right. They know they're on, and the male whale lowers the tackle. Now, we are talking a senior lunchbox here, ladies and gentlemen. There may be lads in the studio tonight and at home watching who flatter themselves that they are packing a pretty impressive portion in their pouch, but believe me, compared to the Antarctic right whale, you are the genital equivalent of Luxembourg. The right whale's dick is 8 feet long and 2 feet wide. You know how whales often look like they're smiling? Well, now you know why. Now, normally, this monumental lunchbox is kept inside the body cavity for reasons of hydrodynamic streamlining. Stops it dragging on the ocean floor, scaring the dolphins. What the flippin' hell was that? But now, the portion is ready, and it's prone, and 5 miles away, across the raging, frozen, icy seas, the female whale locates that todger. She goes, woo, that's a big one. Woo, yes, I'll have some of that. Bring it over here, my son. I can make use of it. So, the two mighty beasts begin to power towards each other through the boiling, frothing sea, beating their mighty flukes upon the surface and singing their mighty songs. Ee, 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 5 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, 2 miles. There's shoals of fish scattering. There's whales and sea lions getting out of the way because it's shag time and nothing is going to stop these splendid beasts. 100 yards, 50 yards, 10 yards. Then just when a collision seems inevitable, just when it seems that a certainty that these two mighty lovers will end their tempestuous, stormy affair in one dreadful, bloody headbutt beneath the ocean waves, both colossal creatures thrash their huge tails down upon the surface of the ocean, and as one, ladies and gentlemen, they rise! They rise above the water, 60 tons each, 120 tons of combined shag monster. They crash body to body together in the darkened, stormy air, hanging there as one for one orgasmic split second, penetrate, ejaculate, insert, and spurt. It's all over in a quarter of a moment. The lovers crash back into the foaming brine for a cup of tea and a fag. The penguins applauding wildly. The man... Oh, thank you very much. The male whale, some 10 gallons the lighter. Now that would take a lot of bog paper.
This is what biodiversity is about. And I put it to you that it would be a very dull world if we couldn't find room in it for dung beetles and a 60-ton shag monster with a 10-gallon scrotum. And yet, our leaders have seriously debated whether we can. The right whale is not even the biggest. The blue whale has a brain the size of a small car. And yet we humans, we claim to be cleverer. We say to ourselves, what do they do with those colossal brains? They don't seem to use them for anything. All they do is swim, eat seafood, and make love. Maybe we should be asking ourselves, who are the stupid ones? Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Man From Auntie. Good night.